So there's good, and then there's not so good. Look at the plug on that thing. Nasty. This is the cylinder head off the motor I'm replacing. This is from over revving the engine, and the valves start floating. So the valve spring on the other side here, these valve springs can't keep up. They can't draw the valve back into the head quick enough to duck the piston, and it's an interference fit. It's an interference fit, it's called. And so the valve, there's the head of one, will actually kiss the piston, as they say. And at that point, it's all over. Same with timing chains. When your timing chain goes, this is what happens when your timing belt goes in a car, in those Subarus or the little Hondas, and they say gold wings, they say replace the timing belt. Well, this is what happens when you don't replace the timing belt. However, in this case, ZX9, this is from over revving. This is probably just sheer abuse, really. You know, pure and simple, just mindless kind of abuse. Nasty. So these bikes have been sitting under a pine tree for about 2 months. It was in a friend's warehouse for a long time. Just collecting dust. They kind of came as a sale with other bikes. So anyways, bit of a crapshoot. So kind of horrendous. Cleaned them up a little bit, like sprayed the worst of the grime up. Some genius spray painted this frame. It used to be like that. That's how they came stock, and then they spray painted. And you know, you look under and they kind of got the back of the motor, the shock, like they didn't cover up anything. Just, I don't know why people do this. And what's with this? It's like, did they run out of paint? And you see both sides just kind of tapers off towards the rear. Chop the rear tail off with a hacksaw. So anyways, we're gonna carry along. And yeah, they painted the radiator. Look at all the paint's falling off the radiator. 2000 ZX9R. Pretty nice bike, actually. These are, it's a yeah, 2000. I got two of them here. I got two of them in various states of disassembly. Questionable owner history. Who knows? Went from shop to shop. People couldn't get them running. They done carburetor work. I just took the fuel line off and there was like ice in it. I just dragged them in from outside. It's kind of cold out tonight, but I sprayed them down with the garden hose and it immediately froze. So wiped them off. I got a box of parts here. I have some other plastic stuff outside. There's a seat and there's other bits and various things. Of course, that belt is not part of it, obviously. But yeah, it needs tires. But I think I got one good running bike. I'm going to get this running tonight. This one here. And then I'm going to see where we're at. See how it runs. Shift it through the gears. And run it through a couple of heat cycles. And see if it's going to be a viable option. Looks like it's got oil in it. It's red oil. I'm not sure what the red oil is about. Hopefully that's engine oil. Maybe I should change the oil before I start this for sure. Who knows? Could be transmission oil for all I know. These things, they just get so bastardized. I don't know what it is with these bikes. They're owned. Some people just get their mitts on them and they just start molesting them. So it's kind of shocking, actually. So we're gonna see if we can make one bike out of two of these things, and I'll do a video after. Get it running, video it, and then I'm going to throw this motor in that frame. runs all right. Shifts good. Goes through all the gears. It's just one of the basic checks you should do when you're, got a motorbike like this. That's, really a salvage bike. You don't know the history of it. Run it through the gears, jack it up. Get it running. Run it through a couple heat cycles. And let all the rings free up or whatever it needs. It's just, things sit and they get gunked up, and so the carbs start running better when the heat's applied to them, etc. But that's not a definitive test whether the gearbox is any good. I mean, it could be slipping in second gear. The dogs could be rounded. Who knows? 29,000 K on the clock. Not exactly the most loved example of a ZX9R, but the motor seems to run good. It's got no ticks, knocks, rattles, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I mean, it seemed to shift through the gears pretty slick, without any resistance or anything. So yeah, probably good. We'll have a go at it. It's a little bit of a gamble. We'll take the motor out, throw it in this other example here. Much cleaner example with nice bodywork and everything. The motor blew up on this one, so we bought it as a salvage bike and make one good bike out of the two. So see how it goes. If you've got the motor out anyway, this is ZX9R, and I'm going to pop this motor in. But if you got it out, it's a great time to do the valves. I just done a ZX6, and like many inline 4s and many actually Japanese bikes, they're all the same. They're not all the same to do the valves, but they're all the same, if you know what I mean. The timing marks down the crank. You take this cover off. There's a 17 mil bolt under there to turn the crank. Take the plugs out. You don't always have to replace the plugs. Like if they look fine and it was running fine, then they're fine. Yeah, and two, this rubber gasket is reusable, and along with those things, they're reusable. Little gaskets that go on top of the plug holes. So you don't always have to replace everything. If you're unsure, I mean, go ahead. But I generally don't, but I do the maintenance on my bikes quite a bit. This one here, it was running great, so had a couple shims that needed to be adjusted, and that's about it. But if you don't get these things seated properly, that's the biggest thing. Take them off the valve cover and put them on the head. Just kind of a tip there, because if you put it on with them on there, and they fall, and they get crooked, then the oil will leak down into the plug well, and then you'll get a misfire. So yeah. The reason these are so expensive to do at the shop, probably maybe some people are wondering, is because they're such a pain in the ass to do. I mean, you got to take both camshafts out. You got to take all the camshaft caps out, the cam chain tensioner down here, the cover, and then you got to first of all record all your measurements, and then take it all apart, and then replace the shims and put it all back together and time the cams. If you don't time the cams properly, if it's out by 3 teeth or more, you're going to bend all the valves to wreck the motor. So it's a time-consuming project. I mean, that's why, and this is out of the bike, so that's why I recommend, if you got the motor out, God, do the valves. Just check them. They probably don't even need adjusting. Like this only needed 2, but a lot of times you don't need any. If they're within specs. So but yeah, if you got it out, check it. And if you're taking it to the shop and they're quoting you a lot of money, well, this is why it's a lot of money. It's just tedious and time consuming, and a lot of the shops now are 130 to 160 an hour, and to do it right. And you got to do it right, because if you don't do it right, you bend the valves, and if you bend the valves, then well, it's not good. So hope that helps. So if you're doing the chain on these bikes and you're tightening up the axle nut, just a word of advice: there's an aluminum spacer in here, and this is a nice big 32 millimeter nut, and so you can get a big breaker bar on it. But don't do that. If you're not sure how to tighten it, of course, go in the manual and check for your specific motorcycle. But if you torque on this thing, I've seen people torque on them like they're tightening up a lug nut on a semi wheel, and they squish the mushroom, the aluminum spacer inside the wheel. So this thing doesn't need to be like crazy tight. It's got a cotter pin in it, and other ones have like a
It's not like a nylock nut, but it's a locking nut on it for that specific reason. So if you're in doubt, check for your individual bike. And while you're in there, these adjuster nuts that go into an aluminum swing arm, these are metal adjuster nuts, and you should oil them if you're going to put them in, because what happens is the aluminum and the steel with dissimilar metals, they actually bind to each other. They'll start, I don't know, it's like an electrolysis or something, and they really get stuck in there. That's same thing with spark plugs in your aluminum head. You put steel spark plugs in your aluminum head, and you should, I mean, even if your plugs are good, just take them out. You know, if you got the air box off and you're in there anyway, take your plugs out and put it back in. It just cracks that corrosion off. So if you never take your plugs out, you know, you end up breaking them, of course, right? Not so much on motorcycles, but you see it a lot in the automotive world, you know, with trucks and whatnot. People don't change their plugs for 100,000 kilometers, and that's what you end up with. But these swing arm bolts, you get bad because they're subject to, you know, moisture, the rain, road salt, grime, etc., etc. So oil those up if you're in here anyway, and check your spec on this nut, but don't go nuts with it because you'll crush that spacer in there. Check out this cool tank. Check out this cool tank. I've done this about, oh, I don't know, probably about 7 years ago. This is off a TX 750 Yamaha. I'm going to do another video on that one. It was just happened to be sitting pretty on the bench, so it's pretty cool, eh? I like it. Anyways, that's about it. I got this bike back together now. It's running really good. I synchronized the carburetors on it, adjusted the valves. I didn't replace plugs. Plugs look really good. Changed the oil, you know, filter, basic stuff. Gonna put a new air filter in. So there's a few things to do. The temperature sensor flaked out on the other radiator, so I had to replace that. It just, the fan wasn't kicking in. A lot of little niggly things, but you know, it's a lot of little maintenance and a lot of wiring, routing, and routing the cables, and making sure everything's tight and fit together and torqued and that sort of thing. So yeah, just about done. Pretty cool. We got one good bike out of those two junkers you seen at the beginning of the video. So, you know, give you a little inspiration if you're out there doing projects and you're wondering, you know, if it's within the realm of possibilities. It's not that difficult. You just gotta take your time. Get a workshop manual and go for it. These are really nice bikes. You can get a really good bike for a decent price by rolling up your sleeves and getting the workshop manual, buy a base set of tools, and yeah, man, it's really good. So yeah, if you like it, leave comments below and let me know what you think. Let me know if you're doing any projects, and I'll post another video next week or something like that. Take care. Bye.